Welcome to the Bells and Balls podcast. Long as the balls are bouncing, the bells are ringing, content we are slinging. It is the Bells and Balls podcast. Hello, everyone. I am your host, Marcus Atkinson, and we're going to kick it off with the balls portion, first episode of our sports portion of our podcast. And we're going to talk about something that is coming up and very imminent within the next 10 days or so. We're going to have the NFL season that's going to be kicking off. The first game of the season is going to be the defending champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Dallas Cowboys. So that's going to be a very, very interesting matchup to kick off the season. But to get prepared for the season, we're going to look into what I believe are the top five storylines going into the season that I think are going to play out throughout the season and going to provide a lot of interest for us as fans going into this season and throughout the season. But before we get started, if you're new to the channel, welcome. If you like our content, certainly feel free to hit that subscribe button below. You can also like this video. We certainly like that as well, so it can show up in the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you haven't reached out to us, you can reach out to us on social media. We have a Balls Pod on Twitter, as well as Bells Balls Podcast on Instagram. Please feel free to follow us on both of those and check those out. All right. Now that we got that out the way, let's go ahead and kick it off. Let's go through this list. And, absolutely, if there are some items that maybe you think should be on this list that you like to input in, please feel free to add those into the comments at the bottom. But these are my own personal, and I think a lot of people would agree that these are some key items that are going to be looked for in this season coming up. Let's start with the first one. I think that's been kind of building up for some time, and it seems like it's kind of coming to a culmination right now, and that's the final season of Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. Well, at least that's the way it looks right now. It looks like all signs are pointing for Aaron Rodgers to be ready to leave in Green Bay. The way this is played out, there's been a lot of things that kind of fell into place. Obviously, the first that started a couple years ago was the drafting of Jordan Love and just overall how the Packers organization handled that situation, the lack of communication with Aaron Rodgers, just the overall view of, hey, I'm towards the end of my career and you're drafting this quarterback. And it felt very similar to how, ironically, the Packers drafted Aaron Rodgers when Brett Favre was the quarterback as well. But it seems, just by many of the accounts that are out there, that the Packers organization has handled this very poorly. And it looks like they're ending up going to a very messy divorce. It's even including Davante Adams, the number one receiver for the Green Bay Packers, who also looks like he's going to be in his last year there. They both posted pictures on Instagram a couple weeks ago. That was a picture of Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, basically signifying a scene from the Last Dance documentary that came out last summer that was detailing the Chicago Bulls and their run throughout the playoffs in the 90s when they won 6 championships. And so the whole premise of the documentary was to highlight the last year of that dynasty that took place. And so the picture that Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams, posted up was very symbolic. And I think the way that this season will play out, I think it'll just be interesting. It'll be very interesting to see how this all ends and where the team goes. Had a chance to look at Jordan Love so far in this preseason. I've seen some good things. I've seen some things that were like, hey, this is the guy you're going to replace Aaron Rodgers with. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this plays out. So I'm looking forward to seeing this unfold. Uh, Storyline number 4. Who is going to win the NFC East? Okay, and now before you start, okay, I already know. Why do we care about the NFC East, right? They were terrible. None of the teams had a winning record last year. I understand all that. With that said, we're talking about some of the most profitable sports teams in North America within that division. When you talk about the Dallas Cowboys, of course, and Washington football team, and Philadelphia Eagles, New York Giants for that matter, they're all very popular teams. And so, regardless of how good they're doing, there's always a vested interest in how those teams are doing. They get a lot of national TV games. My goodness. How many times have we seen the Cowboys, whether they're good or bad, on national TV, on Sunday Night Football, on Monday Night Football? So they're always going to be a focal point regardless of how good the teams actually are or not. And what I think is really compelling about this particular storyline is I don't really think there's a clear team that is ahead of the others. Really, in reality, it's the Eagles that are not in this mix. They are clearly in a transition period where they have Jalen Hurts as a quarterback, and they're still trying to figure out, how good is he really. And meanwhile, there's rumors that they're trying to get Deshaun Watson, even in the midst of his legal trouble. So Eagles are kind of in flux where you don't really know what they're going to do this year as far as are they really going to be contenders. I mean, odds on now they're probably not. But the other three teams, I think, are the teams that should look out for. So just a couple of things that I think is interesting is that even though there are three compelling teams that certainly could win the NFC East, the issue is they all have some reasonable flaws that I think could also hold them back. Let's just start out with the Washington football team. Of course, they have Ryan Fitzpatrick as a quarterback. He's been around the league, so many teams over the years. They're relying on him to be the number one quarterback. He has shown a level of inconsistency throughout his career. He played for my favorite team, the Tennessee Titans, back, I think it was in 2011. And he is a roller coaster ride. Either you will see him play brilliantly and get you 5 touchdowns some games, or he could actually end up throwing 5 interceptions. There's not a lot in between. Every once in a while, it could be he has a good drive, then he has a bad drive, but you're going to be going back and forth with him. And I think with Washington, he's going to play a big factor on how far they can go. Certainly, I think their defense is going to hold up, and I think their defense should be in pretty good shape. But at the end of the day, you got to take care of the ball. Is Ryan Fitzpatrick going to be able to do that? That's the Washington football team. Next to the Cowboys. Cowboys, their defense was putrid last year. So are they going to be able to improve their defense with a new defense coordinator, Dan Quinn, who's coming over after being the head coach in Atlanta? Is he going to be able to right the ship? They've added some pieces on their defense as well. Is that going to make a difference? Is that going to fix their defense? Because we know their offense. We know they can score. I mean, their offense is ridiculous with Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, the receivers, CeeDee Lamb, Mari Cooper, Michael Gallup. They have great weapons on offense. So scoring's not going to be an issue. It's the defense. On offense, though, I do wonder how healthy is Dak and how healthy is Zeke. Zeke looks like he's in great shape from the videos that we've seen him working out and getting ready for the season. How is that going to translate in the season? I think that will definitely play a role into the season. But even if Zeke didn't play up to the level he played a couple of years ago, I still think their offense has too many weapons that they'll be a great offensive team. It's just the defense that's really going to matter. And then also you got the Giants. So the big question is about Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is very talented. He has so much talent. He's very athletic. He has a great arm, but he just makes some baffling plays, and he just drives me nuts watching him. There's just times where it just looks like he's just trying too hard, and so I do wonder. Is he going to be able to fix that? Is he going to be able to take care of the ball more and to do the things that they need in order to be successful? I think that if he is able to take care of the ball better, use the weapons they got Kenny Galladay, got Kadarius Toney out of Florida this year. They're getting Saquon Barkley back. They got so many weapons on offense, and then can the line protect them? If they can figure all those things out, I think they'll look good. And then of course, Saquon Barkley coming back from injury, can he get back to form? All those things will definitely play a factor for the Giants. And overall, all three of those teams could easily go either way of just being dominant or just kind of struggling the whole way. I don't think it's going to be really clear. I think it's just going to be a dogfight, and those teams are just going to go back and forth, and then we'll see how attrition sets in throughout the rest of the season and who's the healthiest. I think that's going to play a factor in who out of those three teams is going to end up emerging as the champion. My number three storyline: can the Chiefs continue their dominance in the AFC? Three straight AFC championship games for the Chiefs, two straight Super Bowl appearances. Are they going to continue this run, or is somebody going to step up and stop them? Man, Patrick Mahomes, unbelievable player. Obviously, voted number one amongst the players in the top 100 countdown that just came out recently. Clearly, one of the best players in the NFL, no question in my mind. Of course, you got Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. You got so many weapons there. But can they continue their dominance? There are a couple of teams that I think are potentially a threat to them. Now, does that mean they're going to beat them? We'll see. Obviously, just like I said with the NFC East, attrition is going to play an important role. How teams stay healthy obviously is going to determine who is going to be able to stand tall in the end. Of course, we saw that in the Super Bowl with the Chiefs. They lost a couple of their offensive linemen. They looked like a different team. They couldn't even get a touchdown. So it was very difficult watching that game and watching them really not really do anything really till the game was practically over on offense. So attrition is going to be a big, big role as it is any NFL season. But the teams that I think potentially could give them a run, you got the Bills, who of course faced them in the AFC Championship game. Very good team. Josh Allen looks in form already. He's just getting better and better and better. You added some weapons. You just added Emmanuel Sanders along with Stephon Diggs, and you got Gabriel Davis as well. I mean, man, it's going to be crazy to see them continue to grow. And see if they can improve upon their run that they had last year. I think the Cleveland Browns are in that mix. I hear a lot of people saying, well, the Steelers and the Ravens, those are teams that can win the AFC North. I think the Browns are probably the best team in that division right now. And right now, they have the most talent out of the three teams, in my opinion. Got talent on both sides of the ball. They gave the Chiefs a pretty tough battle in the divisional round last year in the playoffs. I think they could absolutely give the Chiefs another battle. So it should be really interesting. I believe they play each other first week. So I think we're going to get at least a little bit of a taste to see where the Browns are as a measuring stick to the Chiefs. A couple other teams, of course, I mentioned the Ravens. They're always going to be in a mix. Good defense. You got Lamar Jackson, who's dynamic. Not really sure if he's going to be able to carry them in the playoffs. Certainly he has been a dynamic player for the past couple of years. Won the MVP a couple of years ago. But how does that translate into playoffs? I think that's going to be a big factor to if they are going to be able to make a run. And then also you got the Pittsburgh Steelers, who um, under Mike Tomlin never had a losing season. I don't expect that to change. Ben Roethlisberger looks healthy. The young receivers that they have another year under their belt. Their defense is really good. What can they do to get back to form when they were starting off 11-0 to start the season? Kind of fell off towards the end, but if they can get back to where they were beginning of the season, they certainly could give the Chiefs a big test. And of course, one team that I want to highlight, and like I said, I got a personal bias for them, is the Tennessee Titans, the champions of the AFC South last year. Not a lot of people were talking about them, which is understandable. The defense was really bad. We had one of the worst third down defenses in NFL history. It was absolutely frustrating to watch the team and the defense last year. With that said, there were a number of changes that were made. 6 out of the 11 starters on defense were changed up. You got a couple young faces that are going to be out there on defense that we haven't really seen much, or just rookies like Caleb Farley, for example. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the defense plays. Then you also, of course, you got another year of Derrick Henry. King Henry, was he going to be able to do for encore after rushing over 2,000 yards? And of course, you got Julio coming to the Titans, being opposite of A.J. Brown. How good can those two be with Ryan Tannehill under center? I think that if the defense is at least average, that's a tough team. That's a team that can compete with the Chiefs. But the defense has to step up. And I think that's going to play a major factor of far as how far the Titans can go and if they really are contenders against the Chiefs. So let's go to the number 2 storyline, which is which rookie quarterback will have the best first season. So I have 5 rookie quarterbacks I have on this list. And I really think that when we talk about the best season, I think it really goes into opportunity. One thing that I think usually hurts rookie quarterbacks, and I mean, you can go through the years of rookie quarterbacks that play in the league, usually they're hampered the first year or so because they just lack the talent around them. And so when you look at rookie quarterbacks, you generally should look at, who has the best situation, who has the ability to go in today and have the opportunity to make an impact, because those are the ones that I think have the best chance to flourish in their first year. And a good example of that last year was Justin Herbert. Chargers were not a good team, but man, he plays so well because he has so much talent around him. He has so many weapons to throw to. If you compare that to some of the other rookies last year, it's just not the same. They're just not working with the same set of skilled players. So I think it makes a big difference when you have rookies who have a lot of weapons, a lot of opportunities around them. So I got 5 rookies on my list. I have Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones. Now, out of these guys, obviously Trey Lance and Justin Fields, they look like they're going to be starting the season on the bench as the second string quarterback. So we'll have to see how the season plays out. To be honest with you, I think a lot of us kind of already see that Justin Fields is probably going to get in there at any moment, and he's probably going to get a chance to replace Andy Dalton at some point. I don't think we're of any illusion that this is going to happen at some point this season. But it's going to be challenging because he's not starting out the season. He's going to have to get in there and get comfortable, get into rhythm with the first line starters to be able to get himself going. So I don't know how much opportunity he'll have. I don't know how soon he'll get in. So far in preseason, he's shown some good things. I've seen some things where I think he's a little overhyped, but I think he's got a lot of potential. I've seen him play at Ohio State. I think he's a good quarterback. Of course, you got Trevor Lawrence coming out of Clemson, number 1 pick. He's going to a Jacksonville team that's rebuilding a lot of young players. He just lost his his college teammate, who also was drafted by Jacksonville Jaguars, Travis Etienne, for the rest of the season. That will certainly hurt, but he does have James Robinson, who played really well last year. He was a very good running back. He was undrafted. Had a chance to watch him when he played against the Titans and watch some of the Jaguars games, even when they weren't playing Titans. He's a really good rookie running back last year, and I think he's going to be a good weapon for Trevor Lawrence. But then outside of that, they don't really have a lot going on offense. They did sign Marvin Jones. I think that's a great signing. We'll see. We'll see how he's able to pick it up. But I just don't think he has the weapons to flourish in a way that maybe other rookies may be able to. So I think it could be a little bit of a struggle. Zach Wilson's similar situation. I think he does have some good weapons. He's got former Tennessee Titan Corey Davis, who they signed to a big deal. I think Corey Davis is a very good receiver, is very underrated. Great team player. He doesn't always put up like huge stats, but he when he's called upon, he made big plays for the Titans, and I expect the same for the Jets. Then you also have them drafting Elijah Moore, who I think was a good player coming out of college for Ole Miss, and I think he's going to be a big piece for them going forward. So he has weapons, but the team was not good last year. They're still rebuilding. I just don't expect much. The guy that I really think actually has the most potential to have the best season, to be honest with you, is Mac Jones. Mac Jones is going to be playing for the Patriots. Patriots were not great last year, but they weren't bad. They had a lot of injuries. They had a lot of guys that sat out the season because of COVID. And so they're bringing some guys back. So overall, the team is in much better shape than the other teams I've mentioned. They spent a lot of money this offseason. They signed Johnny Smith, Hunter Henry. They signed Kendrick Bourne. I mean, they went out on a shopping spree, fixed a lot of issues on their offense. And, they're going to start out with Cam Newton, who, Cam Newton has had some good years in this league. I just don't know how much more he has left. Certainly, he can still be a contributor, but for how long? I think if they get off to a bad start, certainly there'll be calls for Mac Jones to get in there. And I think if you put Mac Jones in there, yes, there'll be an adjustment period, but he has a much better, much well-built team around him than some of these other guys. And so I think the potential is there for him to really get in there and to have a better start. Now, does that mean long-term that he's going to be the best quarterback out of this pack? I don't know. I don't really see that, but I think starting out this year, I think he has the best situation. And so let's finish this off with the top storyline that I feel is the one that we should all be talking about. Of course, this is why they play the game. Is can Tom Brady win another title? Tom Brady won a Super Bowl last year with a brand new team with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He looked like his old self. I had a chance to look at his stats from last year. I mean, I really thought after the 2019 season, I thought Tom Brady was done. I thought he was on his last leg. But this past year, he looked great. He played really well. It also helps the weapons he had. I mean, you talk about Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Gronkowski. I mean, so many weapons to throw to. It makes a big difference when you have guys like that. And maybe the lack of weapons that he had with the Patriots this last year was part of the issue. And so what I saw was a guy that really came on, and they got really hot. But I gotta say, and this is not to downplay the run that they had, because I think that when you win a Super Bowl, there's one or two ways you generally win a Super Bowl. You win because you're a dominant team, you dominate throughout the year, or you just get hot. And I think they got hot towards the end of the year. They got hot at the right time. But when I really look at the run they made, I'm really curious how that translates to this year. You can argue that part of the reason why they struggled early in the year is, they were trying to get chemistry. There were some games that Tom Brady didn't look good. They got blown out a couple games and got ugly. Are they really that uh, bad? But then as the season went on, they had a bye week. They had a bye week, week 13. After that, they won every game after that. Won 8 straight games, including the playoffs, all the way into the Super Bowl. But if you look at the last game of the regular season, they played the Vikings, the Falcons, the Lions, and the Falcons. These are not good teams. They did their job. They won those games. And so I don't want to discredit what they did. They won those games. That is absolutely important, and that's huge. But then when you get into the playoffs, they played the Washington football team with Taylor Heineke starting. They played the Saints with Drew Brees, who play awful, which, the Bucks defense stepped up and certainly gave him some problems, but he just didn't really look that great. And then they beat the Chiefs on a close game. Of course, they played. I mean, I'm sorry, they beat the Packers on a close game, and of course, the Super Bowl they won with the Chiefs, but the Chiefs had a banged up offensive line. This is not to take anything away from them, and I don't want people to say, "Hey, you're hating on them and you're taking away what they did." I'm not doing that at all. What I am saying is, I want to see, was what we saw last year, was that real? Is that how good they really are? And then if so, they could very easily get back to the Super Bowl and potentially win another one. But they're going to have a much harder schedule. Now, win a Super Bowl, the target's on your back. Uh, how are you going to respond? That's the question that I want to see. Tom Brady's 44 years old. He just turned 44 about 3 weeks ago on August 3rd. Is he going to continue to play at this high level? I mean, he's amazing. I mean, this man, 44 years old, is doing things that there's 20-some-year-olds that can't even do. So certainly want to give credit where credit's due. But I'm curious, what is he going to do this year, and how good is this team? Were they just a team that just got hot, or are they on the cusp of becoming this dominant team that's going to take over the NFL for the next couple of years? Going to be interesting. I am definitely interested. But hey, that's my thoughts. That's what I think about NFL season coming up. Don't let me be the only one to have thoughts on it. You can certainly feel free to comment. Let me know what storylines you're tracking for. Which ones are you most interested in? And feel free to comment and leave that at the bottom here of this video. Thank you all for your time. And once again, thank you for joining the Bells and Balls podcast. Until next time, take care.